School is out, but education is still top of mind for parents, teachers, and lawmakers. The Point starts right now. Queens Senator John Liu is chair of the Senate Committee on New York City Education. And I know one of the big issues of the past session was mayoral control of the schools. It was extended for 2 years. The mayor wanted it to be extended for 4 years. What happened?
Well, how we run New York City schools has been a big topic for decades. And over the last 20 years, there's been a system of mayoral control, which basically says the mayor runs the school system as he sees fit. This time at the beginning of the legislative session in January, the mayor and the governor, who requested on behalf of the mayor, wanted a 4-year extension of mayoral control. We felt that that was too long. It was something that wouldn't allow us to address many of the concerns that parents and teachers and other stakeholders had about how the schools were running. We're in a post-pandemic era. We still have issues with regard to excessively large class sizes. We have social media issues, as you know, and there's so many different topics that people are concerned about. And they don't feel like they've had any meaningful opportunity to provide input into how schools are run.
Well, a key thing, I think, for you was the fact that you wanted to make sure that they would reduce class size. There's a state law, in fact, that requires them to do it different numbers for whether it's kindergarten, middle schools, or high schools. And you were concerned that the city wasn't serious about doing it.
Yeah, and you know, Marcia, it's actually been in the state constitution that every child is entitled to a sound basic education. And there was a lot of litigation decades ago. There was a campaign for fiscal equity in which the courts, as you know, ruled that the kids were not, in fact, getting a sound basic education. And excessively large class sizes was one of the main reasons why they made that ruling. So all we're trying to do is to put the city on a timetable to actually fulfill its constitutional mandate.
But see, the city has argued that it's very expensive to do this. They're going to need at least 12,000 new teachers and hundreds of new schools, lots of new schools. So where's the money going to come from to do all this when budgets are tight?
Well, that's a great point. And see, the problem here is that there's been a collective amnesia about what's happened. The campaign for fiscal equity was a lawsuit in which the parent plaintiffs won, and the state courts ruled that the kids were not, in fact, getting a sound basic education, primarily, or one of the main reasons being that there were too many kids in each classroom. So out of that decision, that court decision, the state then put in a system where something called foundation aid, which would be provided to all schools across the state. And that foundation aid was the additional money that school systems
to hire more teachers and build more schools.
Exactly.
But do you think that the city hasn't used the foundation aid appropriately? Is that what's going on?
No, the city has not used the foundation aid appropriately because for many years the state failed to provide the full amount of foundation aid.
But then they did it.
Yes, exactly. And so, you know, in fact, for many years, and this was one of the reasons why I ran for state senate, that we weren't getting our fair share of school funding. And while we were not getting the fair share of school funding, I was not supportive of some of my colleagues' demands that the city lower class sizes until we finally provided the full amount of foundation aid each year.
In this session, in order to give the mayor mayoral control, you tried to get him to agree to phasing in reducing class sizes.
Yes.
Do you feel you have enough protections to make sure that that happens?
I think that the law says very clearly that the city should not reduce the amount of funding going to schools because, as you know, for the last couple of years...
But it's different between reducing funding and actually reducing the number of people in a class.
Well, that's true, but you can't do one without the other. See, one of the main problems we've seen in the last couple of years under this administration is as the state continued to increase funding for public schools and increase the amount of money, the amount of state aid that was coming from New York City public schools, City Hall kept reducing the amount of money going to schools. And so the law that was passed as part of the budget this year requires what's called a maintenance of effort, that the city cannot reduce school funding as the state increases funding for public schools. There's also a requirement that the city will increase its capital construction plan for schools by $2 billion. So both of those are at the bare minimum necessary for the city to get serious about reducing class sizes. But you ask, does that make me comfortable, or
right? Does it make you comfortable? Why not?
Given how this administration and City Hall has really, they've really complained about having to meet this constitutional mandate, calling it an unfunded mandate, unfair, even as we've delivered over $1 billion each year more to New York City public schools. I think that this administration really does need to be serious. And earlier this year, the mayor and the chancellor did start talking about how they intend to comply with the requirements of reducing class sizes.
Is it hard to find 12,000 new teachers? It seems like a huge problem.
Well, there are about 80,000 school teachers in New York City. Actually, a little more.
But they need another 12,000 in order to meet your mandate.
Well, that's true. And there, right now there's some short-term, what I consider short-term economic difficulties of hiring people, teachers, police officers, other public workers,
right.
And even companies are having a difficult time finding new employees. But still, the effort has to be there. If the city says, look, this is all we're trying to find the new teachers, but we can't get them, that, you get an A for effort, even if you might get a B or C for results. But the point is, you got to make the effort first. You're not going to get results if you're not serious about the effort.
So I need to ask you about another question, congestion pricing. There's been, the law that congestion pricing established was supposed to go into effect on the 30th of June. It did not. And now there's the threats of suits. There's a question of how you raise more money for the MTA. And there's a suggestion that maybe the legislature come back and change the law so you don't have to raise make the fee $15, maybe it could be less. How do you feel about that, like starting at a lower rate?
Yeah, well, this was one of the last-minute wrenches that the governor really, out of nowhere, threw into the legislative process 2 days before the end of the legislative session, because there are other things. A lot of things
crazy,
that legislators have to do. Yeah, she suddenly said, you know what, we're not going to do this. And people were really caught off guard. But it's not so much about catching people off guard. It's about the fact that there is now this $15 billion, actually the MTA has recently said it's $16.5 billion hole in the capital budget, which is the budget that's used to buy new subway cars and buses, upgrade the signal system, make the stations handicap accessible. And now $16.5 billion are gone. What the governor is saying that, well, she's supported the MTA in the past, and we should be able to find $1 billion of revenue per year.
But how do you feel about the idea of starting at a low rate? She, over the last several weeks since she did this, she's hinted that other places that put in congestion pricing started at a much lower price point. Would you be willing to go back to Albany or go back whenever the legislature is back and consider a lower price point to get congestion pricing off the table?
I'm a member of the Transportation Committee. Leroy Comrie chairs the committee overseeing the MTA. We talk often. There are a lot of ideas out there. I'm open to any ideas that will enable the MTA to fix the subway and transit system back into a state of good repair, which for many years it hasn't really been there. The governor is saying, well, maybe we can charge less than $15. That may be true, but will that meet the $1 billion per year requirement that's necessary?
No.
Well, if $15 was the amount that was, remember, they threw out crazy numbers in my opinion, like $23, right? So they settled on $15.
That raises the $1 billion.
$1 billion. So if you do $10, are you still going to raise the $1 billion?
No, you have to come up with another fee.
And then there's another question, right? Because they call it congestion pricing for a reason. That pricing is supposed to reduce congestion. If you lower the amount that people have to pay in order to drive into Manhattan, well, you're still going to have a lot more traffic coming into Manhattan.
John Liu, we're going to have to leave it right there for now, but our conversation continues right after the show on our streaming channel, CBS News New York. I'm now joined by two of my favorite people in the field of education, two women intensely interested in how New York City schools operate. Leonie Hameson of Class Size Matters and Natalia Marakover, founder of Restore Childhood. I want to start by talking about the idea of class size and whether class size actually makes a difference in how people learn.
So the research is crystal clear that smaller classes make a difference in every single attribute that can be measured. Kids in smaller classes get better grades, better test scores, less likely to act out and get suspended in school, more likely to go to college, graduate on time, go to college, and graduate with a STEM degree. The research is really, really strong on this. And that's why in the Campaign for Fiscal Equity lawsuit, the state's highest court said New York City students were deprived of their constitutional right under the state constitution because their class sizes were too large.
So Natalia, you are a mom as well as an educational activist. I wonder how you feel about the size of classes and whether it affects the ability of your kids to learn.
I'm not as concerned about class size. I'm more concerned about teacher quality, and I know oftentimes some of the best schools in the city are the most in-demand schools, and it's hard to reduce the class size without reducing access to some of the best, most seasoned educators that we have. So that's one of my great concerns. I'm also really concerned about the fact that children are going to have to end up traveling a lot more to get to schools once their class sizes are reduced and the capacity of those schools in highly demanded areas are reduced. I think that neighborhood schools are important, and my children both have benefited from attending to schools that are just a few blocks away and developed strong relationships. So I just want to make sure that all of that is preserved.
Leonie, how about that issue
It's
of
important.
You know, being able to get close to your school, live close to your school, or not have to travel a far distance?
I think that that's important, especially when kids are young. That every neighborhood school should be a good school that kids can attend. I was a member of the class size working group that the chancellor appointed, and one of our recommendations was that no child be assigned a school far from home with different guardrails depending on how old they were. And so to make sure that that happens, what we really need to do is build a lot more schools, especially in overcrowded neighborhoods. And unfortunately, what I've seen from this administration is that they are not focused on that. In fact, since the class size law was passed, the DOE cut $2.5 billion from new capacity in the capital plan. And though the city council has restored some of that, we are still think that we're far behind where we need to be.
Natalia, you're shaking your head yes.
Yes, but
we need more schools?
I think we need access to more schools. I think that we need to lift the charter cap. I think we need to bring school choice to New York City. And I think the market will correct itself. In some of the poorest neighborhoods, the parents are looking for charters and looking for more options, just like the wealthier neighborhoods have, and they just don't have it. And I think it's worked time and time again. And I think we should open up, you know, the charters and let parents decide.
Leonie, shaking her head no.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate because we're spending as a city more than $3 billion a year subsidizing charters. We are also the only district in the entire country that has to either provide space for charter schools in public school buildings or help pay for their rent. And so we owe, as a city, our first responsibility to the public school system to make sure that the students in the public schools have a sound basic education. And the more and more money that is diverted to the charter sector, the less and less money and resources and space we'll have for public school children.
So Natalia, you're very interested in your group on school policy regarding gender. I wonder if you could talk to me about that and what you want to see New York City schools do.
I want to see New York City schools involve parents every step of the way. I think we're heading towards a very dangerous precipice where parents are continually excluded from decisions. Children in schools are allowed to change their names and their pronouns, and parents are not being notified. And I think FERPA, which is the privacy law, is being subverted. It's really meant for parents to protect their children, not for it to be weaponized against parents by keeping secrets from them about their children.
So how should we change the policy?
I think it needs to be done at the legislative level. I think that parents need a real seat at the table with the DOE. I think they need to be talked to in real terms. I mean, we've introduced a toolkit that called Gender Toolkit that gives parents the glossary and doesn't chill conversation. It has to be welcoming of children with gender diversity and not, you know, a closed-minded thing and not political. It really has to be about the evidence and brought to the parents.
What do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, I think it's important that parents be involved as much as possible in what's happening with their children. But in certain cases, when students are very, very clear that they do not want to share this information with their parents, especially older children, I think that some consideration must be made for that. FERPA actually requires parent notification and access to school records. A kid's pronouns or gender identification is not necessarily specified in school records, and so I'm not clear exactly how FERPA applies. But I do think that to the degree that it's helpful for kids and families and communication back and forth, there should be some discussion of these issues so that parents aren't kept completely in the dark.
So you believe that parents have to be involved? You want the Department of Education to change its policies?
Yes, and I also, from having spoken to administrators at schools, I happen to know that they agree with on these issues as well, and they do want, many of them do want parents to be involved, and sometimes their hands are being tied by these, you know, legal challenges to their authority as well. So I think that it's important for them to know as well and to be allowed to freely communicate with parents.
So as we approach the summer and the new school year, the Department of Education has unveiled a new plan to put more emphasis on how they teach math, so that math doesn't scare people, so that math relates to real life experiences. Is this a good thing for the Department of Education to do, to change the way they teach math?
So I have a couple of reservations about this. Number one, I don't know of any good research that backs this particular curriculum, illustrative math, that all high schools are going to have to use. And I don't know of any teachers that were specifically consulted in the choice of this curriculum. Moreover, I've talked to teachers who say there are topics that are not even covered in illustrative math that are covered on the Regents exams. And so there are big gaps in it. But the biggest objection that teachers have to the implementation of this program is that they are now being evaluated and will be evaluated next year on how rigidly and strictly they keep to the timetable and the topics presented in the curriculum. So they are not allowed, for example, to introduce new problem sets, even when their own students aren't understanding the material or diverge from this very, very rigid timetable. And one teacher said to me, whoever devised this system doesn't know anything about teaching, because you cannot be a good teacher and be at the same time so strictly regulated as to the pacing and the topics that you cover.
You have children. Are they afraid of math?
Well, they're girls, so that's always been an issue. I mean, I think that we've seen research that says as they get older, like I think after 4th grade, they start to develop some aversion. They have to work harder, so they get more insecure. But we've taken great care. I mean, unfortunately, we've had to pay for Russian School of Math to supplement my younger daughter's math classes, so she would feel, maybe not necessarily to teach her more, because I think they are actually getting a pretty good education in math, but also to help her develop the confidence and the fluency.
Okay, well, we're going to have to leave it right there for now, but we'll be right back. Thank you for joining me. The 4th of July hot dog eating contest is a summer tradition here. Some New Yorkers love their wieners, some do not. And they're being very frank about it on Your Point. Do you love hot dogs?
I don't, but my kids do.
Yeah, it's a classic, childhood, always just there. I just love them.
No.
How come?
I don't eat beef.
No.
How come?
Because it's making me fat. That's why I don't like it.
I'm vegetarian.
So I guess you don't like hot dogs.
Haven't had one in over 20 years.
Without the bun.
You eat it without the bun.
Yeah.
You're a purist.
Type 1 diabetic. Don't eat the bun. It's all sugar.
Love hot dogs. Yeah.
You love them?
Yeah, I love them.
Why?
Because they're good. They taste good. I know they got all kind of weird stuff in them. I don't care.
What are the best toppings for hot dogs?
I like plain.
I like a classic mustard.
Sauerkraut, red onions, mustard.
I like everything on it. Ketchup, mustard, everything.
And what did you just have on your hot dog now?
Everything on it.
Everything?
Yep.
You're an everything guy?
Yeah.
I like ketchup, but it has to be a little bit warm.
I get warm because
Because then you have a hot dog and then cold ketchup. I'd rather have like a little bit.
I totally
Or
get
cheese.
that. Cheese is good too.
Protein has to be good cheese though.
If I can get it, a good chili.
A good chili.
Yeah.
That's the best answer of the day.
Yeah.
Do you ever grab a hot dog from a cart?
Yes, I used to, especially when I was pregnant. I had a fetish for them, but that was a long time ago.
Only for a child, not for myself.
Because?
I don't know. I don't trust them.
Unless it had the rating A only.
No.
Why not?
I don't know. I like the Nathan hot dogs.
Not really, but I do go to Gray's a lot.
That's not a cart.
Yeah, but I do. That's what I'm saying.
That's your favorite.
Yeah, that's my favorite. No, if you could top that, then I'll go to your cart.
So what's the best summer food?
Lobster.
For me, personally,
Yeah.
I'm a Spanish guy. I like rice and beans
Okay.
and meat.
Okay.
I love meat.
Fruits.
Probably like a shrimp or a fish taco.
Shish kebabs maybe? Tomatoes and watermelon I like a lot.
Pizza or French fries. Sorry.
Grilling meat, just barbecue food,
Barbecue food.
which hot dogs also fall in there, so perfect.